Okay, so I'm just going to read the open meeting. This open meeting of the Grafton Planning and Building Committee is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of COVID-19 virus. In order to mitigate the transmission of the COVID-19 virus, we have been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gatherings, and as such, the governor's order suspends the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of public bodies are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The order, which you can find posted to the town's website, allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. For any responses, please wait until I yield the floor to you and state your name before speaking. If members wish to engage in colloquy with other members, please do so through me, taking care to identify yourself. Okay, start the meeting. It's 6:05, Lisa. And we can start with the minutes that Lisa sent around. Is everybody good? Okay.
I would just note that it looks like the select board person missed last month too. Maybe we should just reach out to the select board to see if Doreen's not the one that can be available, if someone else could come.
Right.
I think it's important that they attend these, especially at this point where so much is going on.
Yeah, we had Peter Carlson here last time.
Oh, okay.
Who jumped in for Doreen because she seems to have something that conflicts with Monday nights. So she got Peter last time, and I will send
Thanks
something out to them and see if there's anybody else that could be in on these meetings. So I will do that.
Maybe they could ask Brooke again.
Yeah. Maybe Brooke, yeah, that would be.
I'm teasing. They won't.
I know, they will not.
Like her, John, such a
They
trouble.
will not.
John knows that these are taped, right? And then I'll put it on the website. I just want to confirm that.
That's cool. Let's go with me.
And by my remarks.
So we
It'll
need
be
to
on
vote on the
Facebook.
minutes? Yeah, it will be, yeah, it already is on there, John. So we want to vote on the minutes? Somebody want to make a motion?
I make a motion to accept the minutes for November.
This is Beth, I second.
Great. Vote by roll call. Beth?
Aye.
Prabhu?
Aye.
Lisa?
Aye.
Julie?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
And Doug?
Aye.
Okay, did I get everybody? Yeah. Okay, so we're on to you, Andy, the bills.
Woo-hoo. Okay. So we actually only have one Collier's bill tonight. The one from October we did last month. My mistake, and thank you, Lisa. So we have Collier's for August. Again, they're our commissioning agent. This is for August, $962.33.
I make a motion that we pay Colliers for August. Is that true? $962.33.
I'll second.
And vote by roll call. Beth?
Aye.
Prabhu?
Aye.
Lisa?
Aye.
Julie?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
And Doug?
Aye.
Okay, great.
Thanks. And I did talk to the person at Collier's to ask like why we always seem to be out of sync with their billing, but we can't quite tell if it's me or them. I'm always willing to say it's my mistake, but you know. Next one is for DA Sullivan in the amount of $9,450.
I make a motion that we pay DA Sullivan $9,450 for their October bill.
I'll second.
Vote by roll call. Beth?
Aye.
Prabhu?
Aye.
Lisa?
Aye.
Julie?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
And Doug?
Aye.
Great. Thanks. Next one up is for DRA for our design team. This is for November. And this amount is for $8,423.16.
I make a motion, we pay DRA for November, $8,423.16.
Julie seconds.
Okay, vote by roll call. Beth?
Aye.
Prabhu?
Aye. I'm sorry.
It's okay. Lisa?
Aye.
Julie?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
And Doug?
Aye.
Okay.
All right. Last one in terms of invoices is for Weston and Sampson. We're licensed site professional. This invoice is for October, and it's for $3,921.87.
I make a motion, we pay Weston and Sampson $3,921.87 for October.
Julie seconds.
Okay, vote by roll call. Beth?
Aye.
Prabhu?
Aye.
Lisa?
Aye.
Julie?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
And Doug?
Aye.
Great.
Okay.
Awesome. And
So that's it for the bills, or are we going to go right into?
we've got the requisition, so
Yep.
it's okay. That's it for all the other bills. So this requisition is number 13 for November from CTA. This has been reviewed by Ron, by Mark, by myself, and this is for $745,244.57 for CTA.
Did you say November or October?
This is November.
November, thank you. So I make a motion that we pay CTA for the November rec for $745,244.57.
Julie second.
Okay, by roll call. Beth?
Aye.
Prabhu?
Aye.
Lisa?
Aye.
Julie?
Aye.
John? John?
Aye. Sorry.
No worries. Doug?
Aye.
Mary? Aye. Does anybody have any questions on that? Okay.
All right. So the report, clerk's report for the month. Big picture stuff is we're doing pretty well in terms of schedule. Things go up and go down a little bit every month, but right now we're in pretty good shape. A couple things we're concerned about is just there's one lower roof that is not completed yet, and so when it rains, the inside of the building is getting wet. So we're concerned about getting that done in time, and we're also concerned about getting the shingles all done on the roofs. Both of these things are sort of tied back to the masons being done with their staging. So some of their staging is up on that low roof, and so until they're done with what they need to do, they can't get their staging off, and we can't get the roof done. So we're going to be talking about that a bit tomorrow to figure out what the best way forward is to resolve a little detail at the roof on the big gable, the new gable ends, and get that kick-started and back in gear. The brick, as you've seen, perhaps is in great shape. They've got really just a little bit left to do. The exterior windows are going in. They look really good. We've had a bunch of conversations about those exterior windows and how they fit and what the detail looks like. And so there's a lot of eyeballs on that to make sure that goes the right way. Anything else? All the exterior openings are covered at this point. We have temporary heat on inside the building I don't think I had that in my report, but that's important. We do have temp heat going on. So that's from the outside standpoint, that and the heavy timber guardrail, really heavy timber guardrail, got installed the other day, which was great. That's just another good thing on the outside of the building get ticked off. And then inside, all the walls are framed with maybe a couple of just small exceptions. Drywall's coming along. They're actually taping in and mudding the walls as well around the skylight area. So it's really going well. That's one of the reasons why temp heat is important, because if we're going to be doing some of that plastering kind of work, it needs to be above freezing and stay above freezing so that stuff can get applied and can dry appropriately. On the MEP side of things, the rooftop units, mechanical units, got picked up onto the roof last week by a crane. So that's always a big important step to get past, and that went really well. So no issues there. Inside the building, again, the plumbing, the electricians, the duct work, and fire protection is all kind of rolling along. So some people are working on the second floor primarily, some are working on the first floor primarily, but everybody's kind of working together and working around each other. So that's going really going pretty well. Just in terms of cost, I think you'll see so no change order to look at this month. There's a couple of small PCOs being discussed, but nothing to bring to you. So like Mark and I have been saying for a while, these things should be going in the right direction, and they are, right? So there's not a lot of the risk is out. There's still going to be some stuff that's going to come up, I know. For instance, in the existing building, some of the electrical fixtures that were in there, the lighting fixtures, are going to have to need to get rewired. So there's going to be something that comes out for that. But in general, cost is going in the right direction as well. Safety's been good. At the same time, when the building started to get closed up, I was concerned that everybody, at the time, it was still sort of an outdoor job, and there was sort of spotty use of masks. But since the building has been closed up, it's been really very good. I wouldn't say it's 100%, but it's really, I feel pretty good being in the building with everybody and what they're doing. So that's been a good thing. What else was the subcommittee knows what's been going on there. And like I said in my report, I've got a master list of all the fixtures and equipment that we're going to start to track the budgeting and the purchasing for all that stuff. Some people know, some people may not. Where we buy things from is regulated by the state, so we have to be careful about where we buy things. So I know Beth has some sources for library equipment that is good. We've got some we can buy things through the state purchasing system too. So we're putting together we're just putting together a strategy for that, so we can stay ahead of it and get things purchased before we need them, so that we'll be able to get them here on site at the right time. Those are kind of the highlights. Mark, what am I missing?
No, you're good. Whenever I follow you, I don't have much to say, but as Andy mentioned, I mean, the project's transitioning. We're moving from, in general, we're moving from the rough stage where the framework is being constructed, the interior walls are being constructed to we're starting to transition to the finished stage where things are being closed in. And so now, starting from the second floor down, the mechanical, electrical, plumbing trades are starting to get rough inspections in different areas. And once they get the inspections, then the walls can start closing up. And then Andy referenced the drywall starting to go, and then we need heat to start taping. And once you start taping, that means painting's not too far behind. So most of the discussions we're having now, as Andy mentioned at the job meetings, there aren't a lot of open RFIs. There aren't a lot of big PCOs, even submittals. The conversations we're having, like Andy mentioned, are, owner furnished equipment, or what color is the finish on the millwork. We're having very specific detailed types of conversations versus big picture conversation, which is good. That means we're moving in the right direction, very much kind of headed downhill. The schedule is just updated and it's holding true to where we thought it would be. We've picked up a little time. So everything is good. We want it to be at a certain point by mid-December, and we're going to be there, if not ahead of that spot.
Yep. The cost report, I kicked that out as well. I had to go through it and pick up a couple of details that I didn't have quite right. But you'll see that there's really not a big change. It's still a little hovering of the cost in terms of where we are with the project. So, and again, that's because what I look at in the executive summary of that is the projected cost, and projected costs really haven't changed significantly. We had a couple of UTS testing bills that came in, and that's kind of one of the few things that wasn't budgeted. So whenever that comes in, that changes the projected number for cost. But there aren't a lot of other things in there right now. Like I said, we'll see some other PCOs come up. But right now we're in good shape. Again, we're looking at one of the things we're looking at coming up is revised furniture budget. Ron's been working with the furniture consultant on that, so we're going to be seeing some refresh on that coming up soon. And I've got at least placeholders for all the other costs for equipment and furnishings right now. So I feel like we have a pretty good handle on where we are with cost and where we're headed. Any questions? We haven't really had too many tours in the last couple of weeks, which has been fine. But I don't know how much the donor side of this everybody hears about. We did have the last bullet point of my report was just we had a kickoff meeting with the landscape architect to talk about some potential areas that may be funded, or at least a couple of that will be funded, and then some other potential donors. So there's some fairly serious money sitting out there. Doug, is there anything you want to? I don't know how much you guys sort of bring this up in. We haven't really talked about this much in other building committee meetings.
Yeah, I mean, we've been quite successful here the last 2 months, and the donations have come in. It's looking really strong for us for that, or really good for that. And there's been a lot of interest in, various projects that aren't as part of the plan itself. So Andy's been helping us a lot with coming up with ideas and coming up with, ballpark pricing for various aspects of donor options and opportunities.
Yeah. So as
I
those
think
get, sorry, go ahead.
Well, no, I was going to say, we're not going to speak specifics yet, but I think relatively soon we'll be able to talk some numbers to the group.
Sure. And as things actually start to get some traction, and we identify some projects or some additional scope, we'll bring that to this committee, so everybody should know it's part of the project. So everybody should know what's being discussed and what's being proposed, so that everybody can see it.
Definitely.
Mark?
One thing that should be noted, just to piggyback on that's some response from this committee might be needed sooner than later with respect to that. But when we took a lap with the landscape architect, and they identified 6 to 8 different potential areas throughout the site that something could be done. And if it's a standalone planting area, that's one thing. There were a couple areas where, although the scope wasn't defined, we threw out different ideas, and some of those ideas included things like site lighting. Would we want to add lighting out here, or lighting from like outside the community room? Would you want that to be a space to congregate after hours, in which case you'd want outdoor lighting that's not there now? And if that's the case, and we're in this transition period where we're closing up walls and we need to get electricity into a point of the building, we need to do that sooner than later. So we're not taking drywall down and patching and getting a change order to undo what we just did. So some of those and things like like I say, the conversations we're having, and Ron can talk about the finishes and furniture coming up, but this committee might need to be more involved with kind of quick twitch responses to should we get an empty piece of conduit over here to the outdoor space just in case a donor steps up or follows through with this potential revised site plan or not. And so we want to try to get ahead of those things. And same thing with picking out furniture or picking out certain finishes. We don't want to hold up the contractor. And in some of those things where we've got, say, carpet tile, if we've given them 98%, but 2% isn't released yet because we haven't picked out a color, well, he's looking to order the entire, that might as well be 0% because he needs the whole order. So there's things like that, again, it's good that we're at that point, but we can't really kind of sit back. We need to stay aggressive.
Yep. So Doug, that's why I was pushing to meet with Dana this week, what sounds like we'll be able to meet. I'll be able to meet with her on Wednesday. Because I just want to make sure if there's anything that we know about that somebody definitely wants to do. If we've got a couple of donors that are definitely on board that want to do some things,
Yep.
If there's power or if there's something like that, like Mark suggested, I want to be able to get that implemented in some way as quickly as possible.
Sounds good.
All
So
right. Go ahead.
I have two questions, not related to that, just the last few conversations, but Mark, you mentioned that we're on schedule. Can you remind me what month that is next year? Is that still like June, July?
Right now, they've got substantial completion. I think it was the 5th of June, Andy.
Okay.
And then substantial completion after that. So punch list, things like that.
Okay. And then the second question, Andy, you mentioned, specific vendors to purchase things from. So we also talk about landscaping. Is there a way that we can at least make it possible that some of our local companies can contribute to that? I mean, I'm guessing it goes out to bid, and a local landscaping company could bid on that stuff, or
Probably. Well,
I'm thinking like I guess even just plants, right? Where they buy the bushes and the trees. Like, can we do that from a local supplier?
we have a landscape company already on board. And so if this work was going to be done in conjunction with the project, then it would probably have to go through him, but I don't know. We'll have to talk about that. Mark, what do you think about that?
Yeah, to avoid the public bidding process, you'd have to make it a change order within this contract. So you could go to the CTA's landscaper or through CTA and say, we want the plants to be furnished by this entity, and go through them. And what you might end up having to pay for is their markup on top of the local supplier, but you pull in that local supplier.
I see, but that landscape person probably already has his suppliers in mind. Okay.
For what's contractually owned, if we're talking about over and above,
Right.
then I don't think it'd be an issue.
Okay, great. Thank you.
I had a question, Andy.
Right.
In terms of overall completion, what would be a gut feel in terms of a percentage? Is it 70% done, 60% done?
Well, I think we were around 50% last month. Yeah, I don't know, Mark, what do you think? I mean,
I don't have the pay app in front of me, but it's on the last page of the pay app.
it is.
Mhm.
I mean, that's in terms of cost. Yeah.
In terms of
I mean,
cost?
so in general, this is pay application number 13, and they've got 6 months to go for substantial completion.
So 65%.
Right, so that's right about that. So instead of 19 or 20 months worth of billing, and we're 13
Oh,
months.
so sorry. So Mark, so you are referring to the burn rate, how much we are burning up and what's still pending, right? I was
Right.
looking in terms of physical completion. I was tracking that against what's the potential risk, because when we look at the projected cost versus the approved cost, we are hovering around that 450, 470 range. Actually, Andy and Mark, you guys actually saved 40K compared to October.
Yes.
Right,
Those are
so
net.
it went up. Right? Your projected cost came down, which is great. We always love to hear that number. Keep going down projected
Right.
cost. So if you look at that, and if you say 60%, 65% completed, ballpark, there is still a 35% completion work to be completed. What's the risk that we might go? We might have something happening which might increase the projected cost. Gut feel at this point? Do we think we can still land safely within this number?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, as the walls close up, as we complete this transition, there's less opportunity for changes to come up unless this committee introduces those changes, like donor, betterments or something like that. So as far as field generated changes, like Andy said, moving into the existing building where we found some, existing electrical outlets that need to be rewired. Outside that, there's really not a lot of opportunity for changes to be generated from the field because we've already gone through all those.
Okay. And even something like that, if we had to pull a whole bunch of new wire for the fixtures in that existing building, I mean, even if it was a sort of a classic Griffin Electric horrific change order, it'd be $50,000. It's, we're not talking about 400,000. So
right.
I think we're, knock on wood, I think we're mostly out of the woods in terms of where the risk lies in the project.
Yep.
Awesome. Thank you.
I think that's all I had.
Okay. And Mark, are you all set as well with your update, or did you have more to say?
No, I think it would just be redundant, but in general, mid-June, we were hoping that by December 15th is kind of the date you keep in your head from construction we want to be weather tight. We want to have, temporary heat and so forth going, and we're going to hit that. And so I think overall, we're in a good place.
Excellent. It's good to hear. All right. Ron?
Hi.
Do you have an update?
Sure. I won't reiterate what Andy and Mark have already gone through for construction architecturally. What we've been working on with the design subcommittee are the solidification of the interior finishes and the going through the furniture package. So the interior floor finishes, the subcommittee came to an agreement on those items, and they've been forwarded on to the contractor for pricing and whatnot. I am wrapping up some other finish items, and we're having a design subcommittee meeting following this one. We're staying on after this meeting.
The clerk didn't get the notice in time, so we have to meet tomorrow. And John sent that out, I think. Sorry.
No need to apologize.
I wanted to do it all at once, but
no, it's not a problem. So
they needed two separate agendas. It couldn't all be on one, and we didn't get back to them in time with the correction.
I see.
It was end of day, so yeah.
Okay.
I tried and found out it violated open meeting because it's two separate meetings. So
I see.
Learned a new thing.
Well, thank you for the effort nonetheless. So what we'll be doing tomorrow night is going through some of the miscellaneous items like locker colors for the staff lounge, a couple of the other trim items. I provided the furniture rep with the comments that came out of last week's design subcommittee meeting, where we went through the additional items and recommendations that she had for us that were based on the comments that came out of our first review of the furniture recommendations. So I've gotten those comments back to her. She's going to go through them and come back to us with a revised budget estimate. At this point, it's still an estimate. And she will start tracking down samples for the library to test drive. And that's the fun and exciting part. From there, once we finalize which furniture items the committee would like to move forward with, we'll be starting to explore finishes, any colors, wood stains, paint colors. Biggest thing will be upholsteries for any upholstered seats, because there are a gazillion different upholstery options, and I'll be narrowing those down, making recommendations to the subcommittee for the subcommittee to review and talk about, and we can move forward from there. And then once we have that much information and we've checked the budget, we've looked at finishes, we'll be working towards a final furniture budget and a final furniture specification to move forward with placing an order. And that should all be happening within the next couple of weeks. The biggest thing is how fast she can get samples. It's usually, they don't have samples of every single furniture item on hand. Some have to come from manufacturers, some have to be borrowed from other distributors, or even sometimes from clients. But they'll be working towards getting us samples to check in. The biggest thing is usually the seating. Table samples, depending on the table, you'd like to see like a flip top table, you'd like to see a sample of it to see how it works. But the biggest thing is really seating. That's, and in particular, office seating. Anything that someone will be sitting in 8 hours a day, figuratively speaking, I want to make sure they've sat in it for 3 days, a couple, 2-3 days before they buy it. Sitting in a chair for 20 minutes is great, but sitting in a chair for 8 hours is much different. So that's where we're moving forward with the interiors, both finished selections and specification, and the furniture budget estimate, getting samples and moving forward with final selections. And we, of course, will keep the committee at large up to date with progress as we move forward. Any questions I can answer?
Yeah,
Mark?
Ron, have you heard anything from the distributor, about supply chain issues because of COVID for, furniture that used to take 8 to 10 weeks is now taking 20 to 25 weeks or whatever?
That's a fair question. I haven't heard of any delays yet. Has anyone seen delays on any other of their projects?
I just know on the construction side, we're seeing that. And so I don't know if somewhere down the line for manufacturers, from light fixtures to whatever, if a factory goes on shutdown because of COVID, then everybody backs up behind them. So yeah, as we go through these different samples to look at, we should be checking on that just to see if any of these samples we're looking at has a ridiculous lead time, or if that matters. Maybe it doesn't matter if it's a table that's off in the corner, but if it's one of 3 dozen chairs that you need first day and we're not going to have them, then.
Yes, that's a good question. I will follow up with her to see if she can. I'm sure she can check into it for us. Talking with some friends of mine that work at other dealerships, they haven't really seen delays yet, but it's certainly worth keeping in mind and keeping ahead of it. Thank you.
I've had some delays, but it's been minor. Instead of getting it in 4 weeks, it's been 6 weeks. Or wood veneer stuff, going out to 10 or 12 weeks, but that's typical for wood veneer. That's very easy for that to do. So it hasn't been bad. I haven't experienced anything with COVID yet.
Yeah, just something to keep in mind. If we're 6 months away from them being substantially complete, then we need to have that, that's not that long. So we need to have that time frame in mind.
Right. Absolutely. And who knows what this winter will bring.
Right.
Oh, Yeah, between storms and illness, God knows what. At least we're not looking at early September when all the schools and universities are set to open.
Right.
That's just a nightmare season to be getting any kind of furniture. But we will certainly keep an eye on shipping dates as we work with the furniture consultant. Anything else? Okay, thank you
Yeah,
very much.
great. Thanks, Ron.
Thank you. And the subcommittee will be meeting tomorrow night at 6.
John, anything from the Historic Commission?
The only thing that I know that we discussed, and I don't know, Andy wasn't at the meeting when we discussed it, are the lights that for the parking, and there's some kind of spaceship-like saucer-shaped lights that may be on the building. And so they were looking to have more discussion about other options
So,
for exterior lighting.
yep. So I had Bill Nicholson joined us at that landscape meeting the other day because the Historic District Commission wanted to stay involved and just know sort of what those discussions are going to be about. And I talked to Bill for a few minutes. We were out in the parking lot. And I said, I really, the parking lot lights, A, I think have been purchased, and B, are so specific in terms of their performance that I really don't think that we can, replace those with like a carriage lantern kind of style thing. These have,
Right.
lumens and cutoffs, and there's all kinds of stuff that needs to happen with the parking lot lighting specifically to make a safe environment that I just don't think that we can do something else. The 5 or 6 lights that are on the new building, I think that's still open for discussion, but I know that the team in general likes those lights. I think they feel like there's a slim profile. I know that Mass Historic, if we took those light fixtures to Mass Historic, they would probably like them because they like to have new things on new buildings, even if the new buildings are old looking. So
Right.
So, I'm not sure where we are with that, and I'm still sort of hedging a little bit just to see if some other lighting comes out of the donor discussions that we need to deal with, and maybe that changes things too. So that part of it's still a little bit up in the air, I think.
Okay. Because I didn't have an issue with the spaceship lights. Those were okay.
Yeah.
But I don't think we saw, or maybe we didn't, I don't remember what they had planned for the parking lot, because there were some there, and I think you were at that meeting where they said those are all gone.
Yes.
So this is going to be totally new lighting. So
yeah, and that's a good. I'll make a note to send. We have the fixture cuts of those parking lot lights. I'll send that out to the committee.
Okay.
So they can see what that looks like. But
and I know one thing that is giving them a lot of heartburn, or some people, are the raised beds. So I'm not real sure how we're gonna. I think that can be done in a way that with bushes and other things that it's not on the front lawn, that it can be integrated in a way that it isn't offensive, and I think that it would be done attractively and maintained and so forth. So,
yeah.
But I'm not real sure why it's a pretty great opposition to it. But there is.
I think the talking to Bill the other day, it seemed that the concern was that they were just going to be sort of plopped there, and that's the whole idea for bringing in the landscape architect is to have a design for all the stuff that we're looking at, right? So they've designed some of the projects. Now there's some other opportunities coming up. We want them to take a look at this whole thing. So when you walk around the building from the front to the back to the side, that it all makes sense and it all blends together from one spot to the next. And so that's, yeah, the raised beds aren't going to look like an accident. They're not going to look like somebody just threw them together. They're going to be part of the whole site design. So I think it'll be good to get something for people to look at. That's always the most important thing, sort of fear of the thing you can't see. So once we can get some design behind some of this stuff, I think that'll help.
Yeah, but I think, like you said, only Bill was able to attend that meeting. And I think that would have allayed a lot of concerns if they had been a part of that meeting, because, you know, you sent along the schematics or whatever, the areas. And I mean, that to me, it's like they are addressing it and looking at it,
Yeah,
and
I think-
making sure that it works.
Right.
So I'm not concerned about it, but I'm only one.
But for the raised beds, are you talking about the garden beds or just other landscaping beds?
The garden beds.
Oh, okay, thanks.
So just to the last piece of that, so we are keeping the HDC in the loop with those discussions. We're also had Concom in the loop on that stuff. So anybody that might have an interest in any of this stuff, I'm making sure that they're aware of what's going on.
That's about it that I have.
Okay, great, thanks, John. So anything more on the subcommittee, interior design? Okay. No public input. Does anybody else have anything else they want to share or talk about?
Can we just schedule our next couple of meetings? We have one already scheduled for January 4th, and then the first Monday of February is February 1st. Do those dates work for everybody? Great, thank you.
I'll throw out the offer as usual. If anybody is around the holidays, if you're around and you want to come by and see the building, even if it's on a weekend, let me know a couple days ahead of time or the day before, or knock on my door when you're walking by my house. It's fun to come and see it when it's under construction. So I'm happy to give tours anytime you want.
Great. Okay, so I guess that's it. We can, by roll call, end the meeting.
I make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Yeah,
Anybody want a second?
okay. Vote by roll call, Beth,
Aye.
Prabhu,
Aye.
Lisa,
Aye.
Julie,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Doug,
Aye.
Irene, aye. And Mary, aye. Awesome.
And we can, Andy can join in when and if he does. I don't have the preamble from the town of Grafton, but basically we all know this is a public meeting. We're all being recorded. If there's anything else pertinent that I need to mention right now, I think that pretty much covers the general idea. What I'd like to do for this meeting, it'll probably be a relatively short one. The update on the furniture is, the information is in the hands of the furniture dealership. I'm going back answering some questions for her and getting that to move along in terms of two things. One is getting a revised preliminary estimated budget for the furnishings based on the samples and recommendations that are the recommendations that we discussed over the past few meetings. So there'll be averaged prices. Like I said in the last meeting, she'll be taking into consideration, moderately priced upholsteries and finishes as opposed to the high end or the low end. And we'll be able to adjust from that. And the other thing she will be doing is starting to hunt for samples that, what either she has in her warehouse or needs to get from manufacturers, but she'll be chasing those down, and I will coordinate through Beth where they get delivered. The intent, and Beth, correct me if I'm misremembering this, the intent is to have them delivered to the temporary library.
Yes, please.
I'm sorry?
Yes.
That was a yes.
Yes,
Great.
yes, yes.
Great, thank you. So that it'll be a central place that everybody can go test drive, take a look, kick the tires. There, if we need to, there may be some trips to see actual installations if she can't get her hands on samples to lend out. But we'll deal with that as it goes along. In terms of finishes, I submitted the floor finishes drawings with the selections. Yesterday, I submitted some more detail. I'm going to share my screen. We don't need to go into a lot of detail with this, but I just want to be able to give you an idea of what's been given over to the contractors at this point. So what we have is the floor finish plans. And what I've done yesterday and today is added in some of the details for transition strips. When you go from a carpeted area to a vinyl floor area, you need to deal with the edges. And my standard is to make the transition always in the middle of the doorway so that when the door is closed, that difference is under the door. And we have to deal with things like, change in heights. The carpet is obviously thicker than vinyl. So we need to make sure there's not a tripping hazard. The edge of the carpet doesn't get damaged or frayed, or the edge of the tile doesn't get damaged or frayed. And I chose pretty much basic colors, where we have the nebula colors and the aurora in here. Most of the colors we've selected have some form of gray or medium gray in them. So I chose medium gray as pretty much the standard transition color, except for a few areas where for example, the program room and just outside, we have a darker carpet in the program room. We have the black tile outside of it. So I chose, actually it's a bad example. There were a few places where I had to, I chose like a black transition. Like here, where I'm going from black porcelain tile to the gray vinyl tile. I just chose a simple black transition. What I did at the carpeted areas where the tile meets is I chose a stainless steel edge. It's a very thin stainless steel edge that wraps the side of the tile, the porcelain tile. So it's a very thin profile. You don't, it's just enough to keep the tile and the carpet a little bit separate and protect the edge of the tile, but you don't really see a big transition strip. And I really like that detail where carpet meets tile. It's very clean. It's it looks very nice. It's a kind of, I hate to say classy, but it really does make it.
I agree. It always looks nice.
It's a very sharp, nice, clean look. Yep.
Now, basically the upper level is the same thing. What I did at the stair, because these stairs are porcelain tile, tread and riser. So the vertical piece is the black, the vertical piece, the riser is the black porcelain. The tread, the flat piece that you step on is the lighter gray porcelain. And I chose a stainless steel, no slip edge. It's about 1 inch wide. And it gives a nice clean edge to the nose of the stair, which would be, this edge of the stair. So it protects the edge of the tile. It gives a little bit of a slip protection. And it also integrates the tile from the riser into the bottom of the nosing so that it protects that edge and edge and it gives it a nice clean detail. Now at these stairs coming from the end of that main walkway down to the ramp landing and then into the periodical room, because these are carpeted, I used a rubber nosing. It's going to be a simple, not a very big bulky nosing, but it doesn't need to be stainless steel here because we're not dealing with the thicker porcelain tile. And this is also made to integrate the carpeted tread, and I'm going to have the carpeted riser. I'm going to have the carpet tile come up the riser as well. And that nosing will accept that carpet on the riser and keep it in place and protect all the edges. So I think it'll look very nice. I'd rather do the carpeted riser here rather than a vinyl. Sometimes you have a vinyl covering over the riser. It's too nice an area to do that. If it were, you know, an egress stair, you might consider it, or if it's a service stair between two floors. But this is this is a main walkway from the existing building into the new addition, and I want it to look nice and clean.
They're just, today they opened up, if you come in the front door of the old library, today for the first time you can see from that old library into the new space, and it's dramatic. It's very, so I agree with Ron, this even a three-step stair, it's in this kind of dramatic space. You don't want to, and I think you deferred to that. And so I think that's a good idea.
I'm going to see if I can quickly download that while I'm talking to my laptop. It's on my phone.
Oh, the picture you took?
Yeah, I'm going to see if I can download that picture.
I was telling Ron this morning, my concern on the plans was that the periodicals, the existing library would be a beautiful space, but it would be separated from the rest of the library just because of physically the way that the addition went. But it didn't feel that way. When you come in, it felt like it was a quiet area, but very much a part of the overall library. And it was just, it was very nice.
Yeah, it really did come out. It lined up very well. All right, so that's sending. I'll give it a minute to show and I'll see if I can call it up. In terms of the base, I also added the flooring base to the drawings today. And since we're up here on the upper level, I chose a navy blue base for most of the areas because we're going to have the navy blue border in this room, the carpet in the adult and the lobby, and then into the director's office has a nice dark blue in it. And also we have the blue carpets in the offices. So I chose a nice, simple navy blue base that runs throughout. And I think it'll look nice and go with just about everything. In the rooms where we have the gray VCT, I just chose a simple gray rubber base. In the rooms where we have sheet vinyl, we're going to do what's called a self base. So the sheet good just runs up the side wall about 4 inches. And there's a stainless steel edge, that cap that sits on the edge of the sheet vinyl so that you just don't see a cut edge of sheet vinyl. It finishes that edge off very nicely.
You mean the same flooring just goes up the wall a little bit?
Only 4 inches, yes.
Right, gotcha, okay.
And then on the lower level, you can see here in the lobby area where we have the porcelain tile, we have a 3-inch porcelain base trim from the manufacturer. It's 3 inches high. It has a quarter round cap integrated into it. All of the trim will be that porcelain, but it will be black throughout. Even though this central area is the lighter gray tile, we're going to have the black tile carry throughout. We think that'll look, have a nice rich look to it. And even in the kitchen where we have the porcelain tile continuing in and into the presentation area, we're just going to keep that same porcelain base. I chose a black rubber base because this is a darker grayish black carpet in the program room. Again, anywhere where we have a gray VCT floor, vinyl tile floor, we're going to have a gray base, gray rubber base, 4-inch high cove. And then in the teen room and in the children's room, I chose a teal blue rubber base to go around the edges and go around the columns. There's a lot of teal in both of these carpets. We have teal accent walls here in this room. And then in here, this is the only purple room, but the teal will look nice with that continuing in. And even with the green accent wall in the corner here, the teal looks really nice. Actually, black. Oh, I have the photographs. Yeah, the picture doesn't do it justice because of the lighting in my room here. But this is the teal paint that we selected, and this base is closer to the teal in color than it shows actually here. It's not an identical match. It's not an exact, because that's not possible. But it looks a lot less green in reality than it does in this picture.
I have a quick question. Oh,
yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, were you done? I was waiting
Yes.
for you to be done. In that main entryway, when you walk in, you're going to see a lot of door frames. What color are the door frames?
The walls are going to be that creamy white.
Right, but so I'm talking about like the trim around the door frames. Will that be that same color, or will that be white?
Yes, we usually paint them the same color.
Okay.
It can be done as an accent if you like.
Well, I don't think, no, not at all. But I was a little worried that the black molding at the bottom would kind of make it look a little more like too framed in. But I guess if the door frames are not, usually I think of the bottom trim to be lighter than the floor instead of darker.
Well, most of the floor is the darker color. So you have
yeah.
the black tile in this area up outside of the program room. You have the black tile in the cafe and the black tile in this toilet/service corridor. The only place you really have the lighter tile is down the middle. But since the two tiles work well together, I think having the black base will give it a nice rich look to it. Plus there's some black in the there's a black border here around the existing marble to make it set it off more.
Yeah.
Because if we have the grayish tile with the white marble, it might just kind of fade into it. And then quickly in the teen tween program room, we have the blue, the purple, and the berry sheet vinyl. And what I did was I just had this, since the blue touches both of these, I just had this line is going to be a welded seam. I'm going to have that match the blue so that you just have the blue running all the way down. And then here, where the purple and the berry meet, I'm just going to run the welding rod to be it could be either one of these colors. I just went with this one, SV3. Now in the bathrooms, where we have the 2x2 mosaic of this Turkish skyline, the light gray porcelain, we're going to have, like I said, a 2x2 mosaic tile floor, but we're also going to have the subway tiles, the vertical subway tile white on the walls. So we're using a stainless steel cove trim where the floor meets the wall. It'll give it a nice detail. It will be very easy to clean and maintain. And it just makes it look a lot more finished and thought out than if you have the two tiles meeting together. That's not going to be a pretty detail if we did that. So that is pretty much, and then these are notes and instructions for the contractors. I sent everything in red. I sent out late last night. Everything in blue I did today and plan on sending out tonight if everybody's in agreement with what I've just discussed. Any questions or comments about the floor, anything in blue, the base colors and whatnot? Or does it all make sense?
Is there anything, Ron, after tonight, if these are approved by the committee, that has not been chosen that's floor related?
I think this pretty much wraps it up.
Okay.
The next thing I would be working on would be just putting onto the plan the wall finishes. And the only thing we have outstanding for wall finishes is trying to get those darned films for the teen room to get those selected.
Right.
Because we had already discussed, there's a very few accent colored walls in the entire building, which is, I don't like to do a lot of accent walls. They drive me nuts. And down the road, I think they become a problem for the owner. And when I say drive me nuts, it's not that it makes more work for me. It just gets very busy. It's too much going on. So to answer your question, this should wrap up everything for the flooring unless CTA tells me I've missed something, which I think we're in good shape. So if there's no comments, I'm going to send these two drawings out tonight. The other thing I wanted to talk about is dedication plaques. This is the draft that Andy sent last week. This is just a draft of the typical text and items that you put on a dedication plaque. He used this from another project as a starting point. This is not his final recommendation. It's a conversation starter. And as for in terms of what this subcommittee would like to see the plaque to be, as this is one possibility, I have a second image that I'll show you in a minute. And then for the committee to talk about the text and what needs to go or what should be included so that we don't miss anything or anyone. So that's.
What's the size of that plaque typically? Just X by Y?
Usually they're in the 18 by 24 area, usually a little bit larger than that. They don't have to be huge.
Yep.
But they're about that size. Let me see.
One thing, Ron, when we're talking about this tonight, whether it's bronze or aluminum, or if we don't decide on the finish, maybe we could decide on where it should go. so that CTA can know where to put some blocking in.
Yes, exactly. And I have the plans still loaded up so we can talk about that.
Yeah.
Traditionally, these dedication plaques are like a hammered bronze finish, and that kind of ripply bronze. I prefer, it doesn't have, I'm not saying this exact, but I prefer in a more contemporary building, a brushed stainless or brushed aluminum with a nice black lettering. You know, a screened on letter as opposed to a dimensional glued on letter that you see in the hammered bronze. The hammered bronze ones have a tendency, they try to look as if they're forged or poured, as opposed to something like this. It's just a lot cleaner. It's a lot more contemporary. So this is something for the committee to discuss, you know, which type.
You don't happen to have a picture of the current one that's in the old library? I know we had talked about looking at that and seeing if it's something that could complement that one.
I don't have an image of that.
Yeah, I'll look, because I thought I had taken one.
You may
I
have.
believe it's bronze.
Yeah, I'm sure it's probably.
It's an old bronze.
It is very old.
Yeah.
I would.
think it's appropriate to have the old style in the old library, but this is going at the front of the new edition.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the second option much more.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
And with these, I like them to stand off the wall a little bit to give it some dimension. It could be, you know, no more than ½ an inch, so that the actual plate isn't just glued up flat to the wall. It gives a little bit more substance to have it stand off the wall. So we can talk about that. And then the next image I'll bring up is the dedication plaque. I'm sorry, donor plaque. This is, again, just a conversation starter. I happen to like the glass on standoffs. Again, this is probably about ½ an inch thick piece of glass with polished edges, and they're on aluminum standoffs. This little dot, as you know, just has it stand off the wall about ½ an inch or so. It could be frosted glass or etched glass. It could be clear, and the text can be a different color. If we have it on a white wall, you obviously don't want white text. This is something that I prefer to have done by a local vendor, so that as you add, see, you can see down here where there's empty space. And I believe on this one, the glare is not great, but there's some text up here. I believe there's empty space down here. But you like to leave some empty space, so as donors come along down the road, you can call your local sign maker, and these are just vinyl applied letters to the back of the glass, so that it's very easy for them to take these little dots off, take the plate off the wall, put the text on, put it back. And if they're local, they're not driving, 3 or 4 hours from out of state. And it's really very simple to add to it in the future. So this is one idea, and there's a number of different companies that do this.
If those are glass, and I do like the glass ones, shouldn't the other plaque be glass as well to match rather than stainless?
It can be. I prefer to see the other one as a stainless, because that one's not going to change. That one is not going to have names added to it down the road. I liked that to have a little bit more permanence to it, and I think the brushed stainless or brushed aluminum material makes it feel more permanent. You can certainly do that one in glass as well. That's a choice for the subcommittee to think about. I would definitely not do these donor plaques in aluminum because it's a whole different method of putting the text on down the road. And you really don't want to go onto that path just for logistics and simplicity.
Is the
But that's
glass,
something-
is it like etched in? Like is it etched in, or is it on like on top of the glass?
There-
The lettering?
It's behind, it's vinyl. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
it's lettering that's stuck on, but it's stuck on from
Gotcha.
behind. So you can't
Right.
do that with your hand.
Yeah. And you can always, with a razor blade, if somebody doesn't pay their bill, you can just scrape their name off the back down the road.
I think part of it depends on if they're in close proximity, because if they're like right next to each other, we might want to have them somewhat similar, even if they're different materials. But if they're going to be in different parts of the library or the different parts of that entryway.
Yeah, if we don't have any more
Traditionally-
questions about these, I can jump back to the floor plan and we can talk about locations for it.
Yeah, traditionally, they're not, a donor plaque and a dedication plaque don't follow the same look. They're intentionally different.
Yeah.
Ron, did that picture of the, from the old to the new library come in?
Thank you for reminding me. Let me move this off of there. Still haven't gotten used to that thing. Yep. Just give me a second to save it. And then I can open it.
While Ron's getting that, something to think on the plaque again is the names. Because the project takes so long from beginning to completion, you can go down a rabbit hole as far as whose name deserves to belong on the plaque if somebody was on the building committee before but not later. So this is that picture from old to new, looking right down the gut.
Yeah. The entry to the existing main library is behind me in this photograph.
So that 3-step stair we were talking about, Ron, that's the middle.
It's right here. So as you come in, you'll have the nice patterned and bordered carpet, the blue with the dark blue border with the patterned inset. This carpet will be the same down through here and up the ramp. The ramp will be coming up right around here, maybe a little bit farther back. Oh, it's got to start back here because of this opening.
Yep.
You don't want people falling off the edge of the ramp, but it'll be starting around here. And you'll see the stairs. So the carpet here is the same as the carpet in this main walkway. So the stair treads and risers will have that same carpet.
And you see all that, the bright light in the middle underneath the skylight. That's all, there's no temporary lighting there. That's all from the skylight, just natural filtered light. It's a very
That
warm.
skylight is flipping awesome.
Yeah. MBLC hates skylights, but I think they'll like this one. This is it. It certainly makes the space.
And don't forget, this was a relatively cloudy day today.
Yeah. Yeah.
And look how nice and bright and diffuse that light is. And those walls aren't even painted yet.
Right.
Talking about the steps real quickly, if we can, it's right too late, but I don't know if there's any extra of the old marble tile, because that's where it actually was where those steps are, to put on those steps.
That's an interesting thought.
Yeah, or at least maybe not the riser, or either the riser or the, whatever you call that other piece, the tread or the other
Tread.
thing.
Tread, yeah.
But that's because it literally is where that all that tile is, right in that area.
Yeah.
That is an interesting thought. Let me look into it. Does the rest of the committee agree? Are you open to that idea if we can make it work?
I think it's a really good idea.
Yeah, definitely.
My concern would be noise and the sound of people coming into the quiet reading room. But I think it would look gorgeous.
Well, it would. John, are you saying it only on the stairs themselves, not on the floor in front of it, just on the stair?
I would say just the stairs. I have no idea how much of the marble you have left.
Yeah.
But at least that would give a little bit of a tip of the hat to the stairs that used to be there, or the flooring that used to be right in that area.
Let me look into it, and let me talk with CTA. I can't remember if those are poured concrete steps or if they're steel framed. The only thinking is that if either way, I need to make sure I have the marble is on the thick side, so I have to make sure that I don't make the stair riser too tall for the first step down here, because we can't exceed 7 inches roughly. And I don't want, they all have to be the same riser, so I don't want it to be too small, too short a rise up here, because then you end up with a tripping hazard. But that said, I'll give CTA a heads up that we're considering this, so that before they do anything with this stair, we can figure it out. Thank you for that idea.
And then,
Yeah, that's a neat idea. Ron, would you?
it's kind of late. I'm sorry. Didn't even think about it till right now.
It's not built
if
yet.
If there is any other marble, I think that would be the other thing, is to save that, to make it some kind of a fundraiser where we can make paperweights or something. Somebody can get clever to try to sell them, if anybody wanted to look into that.
That what I'll be doing is, as part of this, and actually part of the installation instructions that I'll be giving to CTA for installing the flooring. I mean, there's not really a lot of instructions for the floors we're doing. They already have the dimensions of where those marble diamonds are located, and of course they're already poured into the substrate, the sub-slab, to receive that. But I'll just, I'll need to tell them, which direction the nap of the carpet goes in, that type of stuff. But we'll be figuring out, I'll be dimensioning the size of the actual marble pieces that go into those diamonds, so they know what size to cut. And that will give us an idea, once that's done, of how much of that marble you have left over to do any type of fundraising event or commemorative paperweight, anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be easy enough if there's left over to cut them into, 2-inch squares, put a piece of felt underneath, and you've got a bunch of marble paperweights for fundraising.
Or coasters or
right.
something.
Yeah.
Another thing, if that doesn't work, to have a smaller version of that diamond right there on the flat surface, so that it's not a whole bunch of tile or marble, but again, it's replicating what you have on the other end, But again, it's using that marble kind of in the same space. So, and I don't know if that's a less or a more flexible area. It doesn't look like that's poured concrete. It looks like it's just plywood. And I don't know if that would give you any more leeway with putting the marble on just the flat at the bottom of the steps, if the steps didn't work out.
Okay, I can, like I said, give CTA a heads up that it's being considered, and in the meantime, they'll tell me how much time we have to make a decision, and I can look into the options for doing this.
Okay, thanks.
They're all good ideas, John.
Yeah.
Very nice.
A somewhat related idea, but that main entrance, the center, has the clock above it. On the far side, leaving the whatever that is, the large print room, like when you're heading back out of that room, does it have any kind of architecture above that window, above that door frame? Might be kind of neat to match that.
There is a drywall soffit there because of mechanical systems. There is no feature similar to the clock there.
Yeah. I mean, that seems like something that could be added at any point. Or
I was just going to say, it might be something that a donor opportunity. Yep. If you find a donor for that room, you may be able to do something on the wall above the entry, commemorating that or acknowledging it. If you name the room after somebody, that might be a place to put the plaque or the dimensional lettering. But that's something to think about for fundraising.
Ron, do you know how tall that soffit is coming from the other room?
It's a cup, I believe it's about 3 feet, 2 feet, 3 feet maybe. Because the ceiling height in that room is 12 feet. And I know we had to drop down a few feet for the ductwork, but I can check into that soffit height. Let me just make a note about the marble steps. At upper level ramp. And then feature at periodical room soffit / doorway. Okay. I am going to hop down to the lower level. So in terms of a dedication plaque and/or donor plaques, these are glass walls here. I believe these are partial height on either side of the column. You have this wall here. There's a self-check station, I believe, here. There's nothing on this wall. You have a wall here. You have a wall here. In the cafe, you have this little line here, where my cursor is the gate that comes out to close off the stair for after-hour events. So you don't really have access to this wall. But you do have, wall space here, here, here. There's a built-in bench here. There's a window here. Oh no, the window's at the bench, sorry. You have wall space here. You have cabinets. I don't know that you'd want to make use of this wall. I would not.
Right.
And then here you have a built-in display case. You don't want to put anything near the elevator entry. You don't want to put anything near the water fountains necessarily.
I like the side of the elevator machine room for the dedication.
I do too.
Yeah,
My only thought with that is that was my first choice was there, but the cafe, if nothing's dedicated for there, you'd have room to grow in the future if you have more panels and more donors and so forth, and you can just wrap it around as you go. Though a lot
Oh,
of
this
times
is
in
just,
cafe, you might use artwork displays and so forth in there that.
are we looking just for the donor locations or the dedication?
both.
For both?
Yeah, to me, the dedication plaque wants to go on a sidewall in the vestibule, and then the donor plaque would be like the elevator room wall.
And that's what I was envisioning, that the dedication would go in the vestibule.
Yeah.
But what are
Anybody
those
have a
white, what are
preference
those
for-
white things in the vestibule? Are those columns?
These are built-in benches.
Oh, benches, that's right. So there's a lot of wall space in there.
Yeah. And that's traditionally, it'd be, sometimes it's outside the front door, and if not, it's right inside the front door. And so the vestibule to me is a nice spot to put it. It doesn't take up valuable real estate inside.
I like the elevator room, that wall seems to be a good place for the donor.
Yeah.
Gets a lot of visibility for sure.
Yep.
It's
I don't
not a
know, I
lot
don't-
of space though. So I see what you're saying about the growth.
Yeah. I mean, you could go opposite where the self-check is in time if you need that space. So it'd be contained in that same area.
Yeah,
Beth, I know you were, oh,
I agree. What I would do in this cafe, I don't recall any talk of picture hanging or artwork hanging systems. And I have used a very simple, very inexpensive wall track system that has aircraft cable. Cables that have a clip that you can adjust the height of the clip along the cable and hang artwork. It might be worth considering that for the walls in the cafe. In case you want to have an art exhibit, a local artist, a local photographer. So I would save these walls for that type of display.
Yeah.
We have,
Yeah, I
Ron,
like that.
can we have that duplicated in any wall space in the community meeting room as well?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's a very simple system. You do not need blocking for it. It's a very low profile track that you put up at the ceiling line, and you don't even know it's there. So you can do it. You can do it in any public space. You can do it in the cafe, the program community room. In theory, you can do it along either of these walls as well.
Yeah.
To have it down the
Bulletin
road.
boards are going to be there. But what about Sarah and Allison, children's and teen space? Do you want to have some kind of system in there as well for children's or teen artwork?
Yes, absolutely. I think it'd be wonderful to be able to display artwork from the kids in the community.
Excellent.
And then for the donor wall, there's a blue line against the staircase. Is that where a donor wall could extend? I don't know how high up that wall Like how exposed is the stair? Is there space there to have something along that space as well?
Well, there's a glass rail that runs up the stair.
Mhm.
And at one point, I remember it being open beneath this
Okay.
stair.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
Beth, I know we had talked about putting some kind of, computer display that highlights activities and, events. Did we have a location for that? Was that going to go like maybe on that elevator wall
it
or hanging
hangs
over it?
It hangs right in, I think
Oh,
it's
okay, perfect. So
this
no wall
area
space.
or it's in this area. This is all open ceiling. So it hangs from the structure either here or here.
Great.
I don't remember the
Ron-
exact location.
Ron, what about the inside wall of the stair, that goes up to the second floor and kind of stagger the installation going up? Because that's going to be a really tall wall.
It's a two-story wall.
Yeah. So could we do some kind of staggered going up
You certainly
above
could.
the handrail?
You
Yeah.
certainly could, but that's probably the most dramatic wall space in the building. And so,
That's true. You're right.
and so, no, I mean, so you could accentuate that with the donors and say, this is our best spot. We want to recognize you. Or you could, have artwork or something there. It's a big wall. It's a big space, but it's a dramatic space. Ron, I've got to jump. I was telling Ron I'm double booked. I got a 7:00 Zoom call too. So I'm going to jump off this one and jump onto that one. So I'll catch up with you, Ron, after this, if anything comes up.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah. See you, Mark.
Just do that in a different color.
Maybe we have donor plaques lower and then it could, evolve into artwork or some other kind of installation or something higher up.
Absolutely. Just make it so we can see it. There we go. And let me just jump back here before I forget. Now for the art rail system, we don't need to decide right now exactly which walls because it is a it's something you can do very easily aftermarket, so to speak. But I just want to put a note as a placeholder. And I can get the product information out to the committee. And the nice thing is it's something that you can add to on your own. You don't need to have a general contractor come out and install this track. If you decide to add it in other areas later on after the project is finished, you can call a local handyman or somebody from the town or whoever and install. I mean, this is something I can install myself. And the cables and the clips you can buy at any time directly. You don't need to go through a dealer or a manufacturer's rep or anything like that. And actually, I just used it in my Madison library, Madison, Connecticut, and it came out. It basically just disappears into the ceiling line. It's really nice. Okay. So until that's, I believe, everything I had for tonight.
I have a question.
Please go ahead.
Going back to the teen wall and glass, I know we're waiting to get the samples, but were they able to do something where we could sort of see what the glass overlay would look like against the wall to have a better visual of how they would look together?
That might be something that I make up myself. I haven't been able to get them to do a graphic of it. I don't think they're really set up to, the manufacturer's really set up to do that kind of thing or a rendering. What I might end up doing is when I finally get the samples, get a piece of Lexan, clear plastic, apply one of the films to that, and then apply the film, another film to another board, and just put them one in front of the other, and you can get an idea of what it would look like. If I can't get them to do a rendering, we'll see if we can go that route.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. And let me, before I forget here, I need to copy this note. For the program room, that's the one thing I don't like about this. Okay. Okay, any other questions for this evening? Okay, our next meeting will be next Wednesday night. And I will give you an update between now and then as to what we'll be discussing and where we stand with furniture estimate and samples. Okay.
Sounds good. Thanks.
Great.
Okay.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks very much.